pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I haven't either.
March 2nd, 1937, the President declared the...
Good evening and welcome to tonight's planning board meeting. Please be aware of the fire exit, which is to your left in this room. In the event of an emergency, please move in a calm and orderly fashion down the stairs and do not use the elevator. The meetings are recorded by the secretary for the purpose of a record and minutes, so please identify yourself each time you come to the podium and speak into the microphone. The board will follow the items in the order which they appear on the agenda, extra copies of which are near the door. After the case has been called, the applicant and her representative shall come to the podium, identify him or herself, give his or her address, and then present their case. The planning board members will then have an opportunity to question the applicant. If this case is a public hearing, will be open for public input, at which time anyone wishing to speak to the board regarding this application will come to the podium, identify themselves along with their address, and direct any questions to the board. Once all public input has been completed, the applicant or site representative will be given the opportunity to respond to any public input. Once all public input has been completed and all questions have been satisfied, the case will be closed to public input, and the board will then move on to a decision. No further input is allowed at this point. And there ends my speed speaking practice for the week. Michelle, if you would, introduce the first case tonight.
Yes, sir. Items for board action, case number PB 1201-1. Upon the matter of request by Michael Lees for revised site plan approval to revise parking, remove existing driveway on Empire Boulevard, and construct a new driveway on Warrington Street, subject to break-in access approval by the New York State DOT, and to amend previously approved signage on premises 574 Empire Boulevard in an R1 residential district.
Larry, if you would just introduce this briefly for us.
Sure. Okay, for the board members, our audience, and those people who might be watching on television. Last year, Mike Lease came to the board. He was purchasing the property at 574 Empire Boulevard, which is on the corner of Warrington Street, which used to be an expressway ramp. And at that time, the board indicated that we would much prefer to have the main drive coming in off Warrington as opposed to right at the corner of the intersection of Empire Boulevard. And that was shown on the site plan that was done by Land Tech. After Mike received his approvals, he went to the New York State DOT, met with Steve Wanamaker, and discussed this break-in access, which is a legal term. And Steve came back to us, and I wrote a letter on November 20th that it's come to our attention that Mike Lease is applying for the break-in access and that basically the board supports it. What Mike came back and requested that the town planning board do is to do a revised site plan and be the lead agency under seeker, and that the state DOT would be an involved agency. They could have done their own seeker, but he said that was more cumbersome for them to do. It was easier for us to be the lead agent, for them to be an involved agency. And so on January 30th, we sent them the letter regarding lead agency and also site plan, the short environmental assessment, and additional copies of the letter. They indicated then that we could be the lead agent. And on February 15th, I received a letter from Robert Traver, the acting regional director of Region 4, and he basically concurred with the revised site plan. And basically on the letter, I then sent an email to Steve Wanamaker saying, Steve, we received the letter from Robert Traver. Based on the DOT concurring with the Town of Arundequoit Planning Board being lead agency, it appears we can close the seeker process at our 2/27 meeting. The planning board can issue a negative declaration and can grant revised site plan approval subject to conditions, one of which will be a permit from New York State DOT. Does that make sense? And Steve's response was, I will just need a copy of the neg deck for my file, and I will keep it moving on my end. So, in summary, we're here to ask Mike any questions, hear from the audience, assume close the hearing, negative declaration on a unlisted action, and then approve the revised site plan for the exit to Warrington, which we basically approved about 6 months ago.
Do we have to declare ourselves a lead agency, though?
We already did.
Already have.
We did a month ago.
Larry, I just wanted to confirm, that is the preference of the New York State DOT to follow that process and procedure.
That's what they, yes, that is their preference.
Thank you. Larry? This time, if the applicant would have, like, anything to say?
No, again, my name's Mike Leese for 574 Empire Boulevard. I think Larry pretty much summed it up, that I was seeking the site plan approval, and so we can move forward with the curb cut.
Well, one thing I would
Okay.
do want to say is we appreciate, I mean, at one point, I think that was a very difficult task to get through this DOT process. You know, it's very often that people take the easy path, and we appreciate you taking the hard way and working through this process. There is a slight amendment to the site plan that was, I mean, it's not an amendment from the original site plan, and it's an amendment that we've seen, which I think we're all in agreement with. Correct me if I'm wrong, with the addition of a couple of double-stacked parking stalls and the slight decrease in the size of the rain garden, which I believe we have already reviewed and we're in general agreement with. At this time, I guess I'd like it to open up to the rest of the board to see if there's any questions from the board. Jay?
Why is this considered a determination of significance rather than just an item for board action?
I think
Well, it's an unlisted action, and you're basically granting revised site plan approval, which is the double-stack parking, the revision to the rain garden, and as far as the DOT is concerned, the access to Warrington. That's the one element that they're specifically interested in having you be lead agency and declare a negative declaration on.
Okay, thank you.
Rich? Ray?
I have nothing other than I can't believe how fast you got it through the DOT.
You put your microphone down there.
I can't believe how fast you got it through the DOT. That was, I don't think anybody anticipated that, but fabulous, and I echo,
I would like to actually say Larry's been fantastic through this project, and
he's okay.
I wanted to thank the town, because the town of Rondequoit's been excellent. And I've had fun telling everybody in town, all the builders in town that I know, that it's been a pleasure working with the town of Rondequoit.
Could
We
we get
tried.
you as a spokesperson?
You're welcome to. Remax Custom, you can come visit us at 574 Empire Boulevard. 671-1111.
Michael, anything?
No, we've said all along that the revised plan is what we were shooting for.
Right.
And that it certainly is a better site project this way than it was heretofore. Thank you.
Mark?
No, looks good, and best wishes.
Great, thank you.
Bernie?
No questions.
All right, we need someone to make a motion regarding seeker as an unlisted action, neg deck, that will not have environmental impact.
I hear that, Mr. Chairman. Case number PB 1201-1. It's an unlisted action, and I move negative declaration.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None absent?
Actually, for the record, I've abstained
right.
previously on this, and I'll abstain again this time.
Lucas abstains. All right, we are going to be granting final site plan approval, correct?
Yes. You could say it's revised site plan if you'd like.
Right,
It's listed as revised.
yes. Revised site plan with no conditions, correct?
Correct.
Motion?
You know, if, just the agenda reads Warrington Street, and I don't know if there is, but I thought it was Warrenton, Warrenton.
It is.
And I don't know if that comes into the motion, let's just correct it now.
So noted. Considering that a motion by Palermo. Second?
Second.
Is that Mark? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Good luck, Michael.
Just like to mention at this time that we're still under consideration in the matter of a minor matter as it relates to I-Square. Inadvertently, in our secret determination at the last meeting, we were following the course that this was an unlisted action, and by clerical error, if you will, or my not catching it, we listed it as a type 1 action and made a motion as such. We are still under advisement of council as to whether we need to redact that motion in order to list it as an unlisted item, or whether we need to follow another course of action. So at any rate, I believe that under any situation, we are covered. We're just going to be seeking the legal advice of our counsel to determine the correct course of action. But
I can state, that was brought to my attention, that there may or may not have been an inadvertent error with regard to how the matter was typed. And the reality of it is, the board followed all of the protocol that's required for the decision that it ultimately reached. Having said that, you have substantially complied with your obligation in reaching the decision that you did. Just to be on the safe side, it's one of those rare moments when I don't act by the seat of my pants. But I just want to make sure that the manner in which you revised the decision you reached, so that it corresponds with the reality of what type it was, is correct. So if you could just bear with me until the next meeting, I would appreciate that. But there's no error in the decision that was reached, in the manner in which you reached it, or the material which you incorporated into your decision. Nothing will change. This is simply a matter of form over function.
We didn't jeopardize all that we did that night, did we?
That's been a criticism of me for many years, and I take that criticism at heart. But you did a wondrous job in moving the matter through and in marshaling all of that material that was before you and getting the job done. So this is just literally a typographical error. But I want to make sure, because it's such an important project that's been embraced by the town of Arundequoit. I don't mean to give a speech, but it really is. So let's make sure that all of the Ts are crossed and the Is are dotted, despite what might have been said before, I think, the town board about that once before. Okay?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, so the deal is that if as it was read, and it's kind of a toss-up, actually, if whether it was a type 1 or
That's right.
or an unlisted, it was pretty close to one or the other. And the only deal with the type 1, that the only reason we need to update it is because type 1 would have required us to notify other interested agencies anyway. Correct? Is that the...
I think that's the point that's been made. Even the manner in which you, and I really don't want to go too much further with it, but you have undertaken what I characterize as substantial compliance. And if we're considering whether or not we want to look back at this and say, did we fulfill our obligation, whether it's a type 1, a type 2, or an unlisted action, my opinion, having sat through all of the hearings and all of the deliberations, is that you have substantially complied with your requirement under SECOR. But is it absolutely and unqualifiedly perfect? I'm not certain. Let's look at it one more time and decide what the absolute correct course of action is to make it perfect, because that's what we always try to accomplish.
did we not seek the input or
Okay.
of all involved agencies?
Yes, under Section 239, because we were adjacent to County Highway, this went to Monroe County Planning, and we received comments from Monroe County Health Department, fairly standard comments, RPZ, water, sewer. We received comments from Monroe County DOT. The most significant was that they were going to require the traffic analysis, which we received on January 30th. We had a comment from DEC saying that they had no interest in the project. If you read down at the bottom, we had a comment from New York State DOT saying they had no jurisdiction or interest in the project. If it had been a type 1 action and we treated it as an unlisted, there could be a problem. In this case, it was an unlisted action. We could have just used the one-page seeker short form, but that would have been woefully inadequate for the analysis, so the long form was used. It went out to the county agencies. Of those agencies, none of them can grant site plan approval in the town of Arundecoit. Health Department can't. None of them can grant subdivision plat approval. So the only agency that has the authority to grant the approvals is you guys, the planning board. So it's really just a matter that we misspoke and said type 1 as opposed to unlisted. It was brought to our attention, and Dan wants to be careful.
Right.
Some other fellow planners in other towns have said, really, it's not type 1? I said, House Guitars is not on the National Historic. Oh, I thought it was. It's not even on the town historic. The size is not over a certain amount of acres. It's only 2.2 acres. It's a small, complicated project, but it's not of the scope to be a type 1.
Is everyone clear? Any questions?
So
Sir.
one way or the other, we'll rectify, we'll
That's
rectify this by the next meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
And we're going to rectify that at the next regular meeting, not at the next workshop, correct?
I think that would be the best course of action, yes.
Right.
If it requires any further
If
correction.
it requires it.
And my only question is, does this affect the project in any way in the short term?
Absolutely zero.
No.
Okay, great.
What the seeker law requires for everybody watching is that the board take a hard look at all those things in the environmental form. And I think the board took a real hard look at this project.
I just wanted to be sure we weren't inadvertently slowing up the developer in any way.
Not at all.
Not to play into the hands of the naysayers that say we're overly bureaucratic, but perhaps in the case of seeker in this matter, we did dot every I and cross every T for a project that could have been construed under a little lesser scrutiny. I don't think that would have been appropriate, but it could have been.
Didn't change the time frame.
It didn't change the time frame. It didn't change anything. I think that we gave it the due diligence that was necessary. In point of fact, they were developing 2.2 acres of developed land in the town of Arundecoit, redeveloping. If you think about it that way, when I think we did the steps that were necessary.
No question, with almost 100,000 square feet under roof.
Right.
The other thing is, had it been a type 1, let's say the House Guitars was on the National Historic Record, at your January 23rd meeting, you would have declared yourself lead agency, and we would have gone out to coordinated review and sent formal letters like we just did for Mike Lease to the DOT, to those agencies, and they would have had 30 days to respond. Today being the 27th, the 30-day clock would have expired, and this would be the meeting where we'd have a full house, and you would close the seeker, and everything that you did 2 weeks ago, you'd be doing tonight. That's the only thing that would have changed.
Okay? Any other questions, concerns, or comments?
If there is a change, how, we're just going to,
It'll be administrative.
okay, all right.
At which point, I believe that concludes our proceedings tonight. I would like a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, can we approve some old minutes?
Do we have some old
I
minutes?
have old minutes from June 27, 2011, August 8th, 2011, and November 28th of 2011, that now that we do have a full board.
All right,
If that's okay.
it is okay. I thought we had cleared all those up last time.
Well, I believe we tried to, but Michael wasn't here, and then Mark wasn't here, and,
Has everyone reviewed, state the first?
I'm
minutes?
sorry, the June 27th, 2011 meeting minutes, board members present were Mark Gunther, Ray McDonald, Michael Palermo, Jay Ritchie, Patrick Russi, and board member absent was Peter Wayner.
Okay,
I'd make a motion to approve those.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jay.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You.
I'm not opposed, but I'm absent, therefore abstaining.
One abstain. Okay. The next month that I have...
Just so everyone knows, we've already wordsmithed these in the past. We were just waiting for a quorum in order to vote on them.
Right.
Right. Board members present for the August 8th, 2011 meeting was Peter Wayner, Michael Palermo, Ray McDonald, and Mark Gunther.
I would move approval on those two. Michelle?
I'll second.
Board members absent were Mr. Palookas, Mr. Belacki, and Mr. Ritchie. So I would have 3 abstentions.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
That's why that one was a tough one.
Abstain.
And then on November 28th, 2011, I have board members present, Mr. Wayner, Mr. Belacki, Mr. Gunther, Mr. McDonald, Mr. Ritchie, and Mr. Palookas. And the only board member that was absent was Mr. Palermo.
I'll move approval of those minutes.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions are Palermo?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot about those. I thought we had, you're right, though, had not addressed those.
Now I move for adjournment, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, gentlemen.